We are one day away from the NFL season, so today I will be giving you my full predictions and all my division rankings. Where does your team rank in your division? Let's find out. Starting off with the NFC North. It's going to be a little hot here. I'm going Packers, Vikings, Detroit, and Chicago. I know a lot of love is going to Chicago right now. Same thing with Detroit. The past couple years, they've been loving Detroit, but I'm going to be honest. Micah Parsons to the Packers, phenomenal move. They're going to be leading the league in sacks yet again. And I'm going to be honest, I love the Vikings offseason. Basically, the Vikings season is going to come down to JJ McCarthy. And we know how Kevin O'Connell gets down. He will turn any quarterback into the GOAT. But that roster is so good that in my opinion, JJ just only has to be average. But honestly, this entire division is a total toss-up. I could see any one of these teams winning, but this is the order I'm going to go with. Any one of these teams can win this division. I would be like, wow, that's not shocking. Maybe the Bears, but if Caleb Williams goes off this year, it's really not going to be a shocker to anyone. Ranking next, who will win the AFC West? You guys ready? I'm going Kansas City, LA Chargers, Denver Broncos, and the Raiders in last. I think the definite is the Raiders in last, but again, they got Pete Carroll, they got Geno Smith, Ashton Genty. So I think they're going to be a solid team, but they will be ending last in this division. Now, the top three, you could rank in any order, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. In my opinion, I think this is the best division in football right now. Something that gets acknowledged, but kind of swept under the rug at the same time, is the coaches in this division. Andy Reid with the Chiefs, Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, Pete Carroll with the Raiders, Sean Payton with the Broncos. These are Hall of Fame coaches. But yet again, and this is going to bite me in the ass because we saw how the Micah thing went if you didn't see the podcast, my pattern recognition is kicking in. The Chiefs have consistently won this division, and Patrick Mahomes' record against all of his divisional opponents is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to have the Chiefs winning the division, but for me, the Broncos and Chargers are very, very interesting. Personally, I think both of them are going to be playoff teams, but how do they rank in the division? I'm going to say the Chargers beat them by one game. All right, moving on. Who will win the NFC South? I'm going to start this one from the bottom. Okay, first overall pick material. I don't trust the quarterback situation for the Saints. I don't trust the coaching for the Saints. To me, there's no reason I shouldn't put them last. Then second from last, I got the Falcons. The Falcons are such a weird team. It's starting to get repetitive that they are one game away from making the playoffs every single year. And that's kind of what happens when you take opportunities away from your best players like Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Again, Michael Penix going on to his second year. I love Michael Penix. I hope he has a great year, but I'm not expecting much. And we'll see how the defense gets fixed moving on to these weeks. I could see the Falcons ending around 9-8 this year. You might call me crazy, but I got the Panthers in the 2. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am a Bryce Young guy. But in all seriousness, Bryce Young and that offense, they started getting some steam at the end of last year. I'm just praying that that final stretch leads into this season here. Now, I know they got rid of Adam Thielen. I don't see that being a major drop because they're kind of leaning into Tet being the number one over there, which I absolutely love. Bryce Young is finally getting that big boy number one. I'm hoping and praying for Bryce Young this year, a God-loving man. How could you not love it? And number one, I'm going with the Bucs. We know how good the Bucs are. I could see Baker throwing for another 4,000. Mike Evans, you know he's going to get his 1,000. Chris Godwin coming back, by the way. That's another thing getting swept under the rug. He was one of the best wide receivers last year before he got injured. But now people kind of want to forget about it. And oh, not to mention, on top of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they just drafted a wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. How does he start to play in this offense? Bucky Irving, how is he going to look in a year two after a great year one? The defense, I think, is going to be really good at stopping the run again. Vita Vea. Very interesting team is the Bucs. Moving on, who will end up on top of the AFC East? Starting from the bottom, I'm going to go with the Jets. You know, the Jets, again, are a very weird team. They've been having bad luck over the past couple years. Obviously, the whole Aaron Rodgers drama. Aaron Rodgers was the pestilence who held back the Jets organization for the past 3 years. Now they're moving into a different direction with Justin Fields. Now, do I see Justin Fields being the long-term answer? I don't. But for a couple years, I think Justin will be just fine for them. We saw him in Pittsburgh last year. I believe he went, 4-2, if my memory serves me right? To me, personally, I think this team is going to come down to the run game. Breece Hall took a major step back last year. But maybe with Justin Fields, with that dual threat presence, maybe the running game will start to click again. Second from last, I'm going the Miami Dolphins. Yet again, another weird team with the Dolphins. You look at the roster and you're like, oh, okay, they're going to win 12 games. But they always end up being a middle of the road team. You know, when Mike McDaniel first started for the Dolphins, we saw these intricate passing schemes and play designs, but it has slowly turned into a dink and dunk offense. We remember last year, just dump it off to a chain, just dump it off to Jonnu Smith. For some reason, even though they have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, For some reason, they cannot find a way to stretch the field. Hopefully that changes this year. Totally not because I have Tyreek Hill in fantasy. But if they want to win these big games in the regular season and the postseason, they need to figure out ways to beat teams everywhere, where you could dump off to a chain, you could dump off to Jonnu Smith. Meanwhile, you could beat them over the top with Jalen Waddle or Tyreek. All right, in second place, I got the New England Patriots, man. I really like the Patriots offseason. Now, don't get me wrong, they had an infinite amount of money to spend, but I really like the moves they made this offseason. They got a number one with Stephon Diggs. We'll see how that turns out. I know in Houston, there was just so many options there that I'm not going to hold that season against Stephon Diggs, but this is a make or break season for where we could see where is Stephon Diggs in 2025. But by far, I think the best move they made all offseason is getting Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is just one of those great players, coaches who will motivate a team and that will lead into success. Almost like a Dan Campbell. I love the new rookie running back, Trayvon Henderson. Now, obviously it's a rookie, so I'm just going off of college tape, but he looks like a great runner of the football. He could catch out of the backfield. He's very explosive, and I'm excited to see how that works in this Patriots offense. The defense for the Patriots obviously is looking very good. You got Christian Gonzalez, who's a stud. Recently added Carlton Davis, and then they added in the middle Milton Williams. Now, do I expect the same production from Milton Williams that he had with the Eagles? I don't personally, but still, you got a solid guy in the middle who could stop that run. And winning this division, I got the Buffalo Bills. Again, they have won this division so consistently over the past few years that it would almost be dumb for me not to pick them. Now, I know some of you might be saying, oh, well, the roster, look at the wide receiving core. But personally, to me, as long as they have Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, they will be totally fine. How will the NFC East rank in 2025? In last place, I'm going with the Giants, but I don't think the Giants are going to be a bad team. I could see them being a 7-10, maybe 6-11. With those records, you think their team is bad, but they're not terrible. That's exactly how I think the Giants are going to be. But I'll tell you what, I think this Giants defensive line is going to be ridiculous this year. Dexter Lawrence, probably the best defensive tackle in the league. Then coming off of the edge, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and newly added, I believe, third-round pick, Abdul Carter. The Giants are thinking to themselves, okay, we got rid of Saquon, he's on the Eagles, and we have to see the Eagles twice a year. Stack that D-line as much as possible. Coming in third, I have the Dallas Cowboys. You know, it was a real toss-up with who I wanted to put last here, either the Giants or the Cowboys. But again, pattern recognition, the Giants always end last. But that doesn't really mean much when we're talking about conversations like this. Dallas's roster, I think they have too many stars on their team to carry the abysmal coaching staff. Now, I know they have a new coaching staff, but to me, it's just not clicking. We even saw early signs of that in the preseason. And when he stands up to the microphone, Schottenheimer kind of looks like a stiff. Like, I'm not going to judge a book by its cover, but I'm going to start judging it by the first page, if you know what I mean. And I could kind of see them playing from behind in a lot of games, so Dak is going to be forced to pass. I could totally see Dak having these phenomenal games off the stat sheets. Whoa, he threw for 410 yards. But then when you look at the pass attempts, it's like 59. Coming in second place, I got the Washington Commanders. I think this is a playoff team here, just like last year. Jaden Daniels looks like a future star. Shit, what am I saying future for? Now he's a star. I don't think he's gonna have a step back in year two unless he does have what CJ Stroud got last year with a bunch of injuries. What kind of worries me about the Commanders though is the running game. Now that they traded away Brian Robinson, you're looking at a rookie running back and Austin Eckler. But yet again, that dual threat presence of Jaden Daniels might be able to make it work. Another thing that kind of worries me about Washington is that last year, the veterans were making such big plays and stepping up to the occasion. I wonder if they could keep that same production. And when I say veterans, I think of Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner. I'm also very happy that Terry McLaurin got signed, and I'm guessing Jaden Daniels is ecstatic about that. So I think they're going to have a very interesting year. I'm going to say they get around 10 to 11 wins. And the top of this division, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. This roster is stacked. Truthfully, I think they should be the Super Bowl favorites because, well, one, obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year. But if you just look at that roster, they don't have a weak spot. There's that one position group that you could look at and be like, oh yeah, you know, they need to fix that. You know, going into their bye week last year, we heard all the talks about AJ Brown saying, you know, yeah, the problem is with the passing game. So the Eagles coaching staff kind of put that into consideration, and they had to make it easier on Jalen. When Jalen was a rookie, he was running around a lot more. He looked really frantic in the pocket. But now Jalen Hurts is a game manager that can move out of the pocket. And truthfully, with a roster like this, That's all you can ask for. Someone who could follow his progressions and follow the script. All right, moving on. Which team will come out of the NFC West? You know, this is a really hard division to pick. I'm going to put the Cardinals at last, even though I think they will be a good team. They remind me of the Bears. They're going to get around 8 or 9 wins, but they're going to be 4th in their division. Marvin Harrison Jr., I know you guys have been seeing the pictures of him. He's looking husky. Hopefully their coaching staff can take another progression this year. I'm a big Kyler believer. I truly believe he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. Hopefully throughout this offseason, he was meshing more with Marvin Harrison and getting closer to his #1 receiver and building more chemistry. The running back position with the Cardinals is all right. James Conner, again, another very underrated player. James Conner is the type of guy where you would never draft him in fantasy. Meanwhile, he is doing great every single week. The defense for the Cardinals still looks a little suspect, but hopefully they could progress another year. And probably my favorite player on that entire team, Trey McBride. He's a dog. But like I said, I could see the Cardinals getting 8 or 9 wins this year, making a pretty big jump, yet still ending last in this division. You know, second, I'm going with the 49ers, man. I really didn't like their offseason, and it was hard to have a good offseason with the position they were in. They went all in a couple years back, so now they're kind of feeling the effects of that, where you have to get rid of Debo, Charvarius Ward, and that's the risk of going all in. When you go all in, you need to win a championship. But since they made it to the Super Bowl and couldn't finish that, they're really feeling the effects now. And I'll be honest, this might be a hot take, but a lot of people see it differently. I believe the 49ers Super Bowl window is closed. Unless Brock Purdy turns it up to 12 and he starts throwing like prime Tom Brady, I don't see much coming out of the 49ers this year. Coming in second place, I got the Seahawks. When you look at the Seahawks roster, you should be thinking to yourself, how are they not in the playoffs every single year? It comes down to the quarterback play. Now, don't get me wrong, Geno Smith snapped last year, but it was in more of the red zone and more of big moments where Geno just couldn't get it done. And truthfully, I didn't really understand the Sam Darnold pickup. It's almost like if your room was dark and you replaced your broken ceiling light with a broken lamp. Sure, it's a little bit more portable, but it's the same thing. Now, the Seahawks did lose DK Metcalf this year, but they acquired Cooper Kupp. So now you got Cooper Kupp and JSN. I'm not expecting Cooper Kupp to get wide receiver 1 reps, but I think he's going to be a sneaky wide receiver 2. And that defense is looking great right now. That secondary is looking very good, and I will always be a Mike McDonald guy. I'm hoping we see more strides from him this year. And ending at the top of the NFC West, I got the Rams. Now I know, Matthew Stafford. Week 1, he's expected to play, but we don't know if he's going to be at 100%. But the fact that they're saying he's expected to play is already a great sign. In my opinion, Matthew Stafford fully healthy, he can make any ball on the field. And now with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, that's going to be ridiculous. Kyron Williams out of the backfield, I think he's going to have a big year. You know, I kind of wish the Rams did a little bit more on the defensive side this offseason, but I do still have trust in Sean McVay to bring this team to the playoffs. And I just realized I did 2 NFCs back to back. Before we move on, guys, please make sure you hit that like button. It is so appreciated. You have no idea how much it does for me. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the subscribe button. I make videos like these every single day, and if you are an NFL fan, I guarantee you are going to love this channel. Now, the AFC South. We are all in agreement that this is the worst division in football. So I'm actually going to start from the top. The Texans. The Texans are going to win this division. Obviously, you don't see a lot of comp in the last 3 teams in that division, but the way I look at it, in this division, it's a very easy pick because you look at who has the best coach and who has the best quarterback. And in my opinion, they both go to Houston. Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson coming off the edge, Derek Stingley, who's an absolute dog, Nico Collins, who proved to all of us last year that he is wide receiver 1. Now, the Joe Mixon injury kind of scares me, and that's another thing getting swept under the rug. We're not hearing much about it. Hopefully, Nick Chubb can become Nick Chubb and fill in for that Joe Mixon role for the first 3 or 4 weeks. Do I expect that? Not really. But I think they'll be totally fine to win this division. Coming in second in this division, I got the Tennessee Titans. Shred me in the comments, I don't care. I am putting my trust in Cam Ward. In the preseason, we saw a great connection with Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley. Tony Pollard had a sneaky year last year. They're starting to build up that offensive line. And on the defensive side, you got studs like Jeffrey Simmons. And please, if we could see L'Jarius Sneed go back to 2023 L'Jarius Sneed, that would be phenomenal. But again, I'm not expecting it because last year was kind of a shit show for L'Jarius Sneed. Coming in number 3, I got the Jaguars. Obviously, the big talk of their offseason was Travis Hunter, their number 2 pick in the draft. I feel like that's going to bring them a lot more viewership because people want to see how much is Travis Hunter playing on offense? How much is he playing on defense? I expect him to play on offense more, but seeing him on defense just once or twice is going to be crazy. And we already know he's going to be playing more than that. Obviously, we all love Brian Thomas Jr. He really stuck out last year. But the thing with Brian Thomas Jr., one game he'll go off for 150 yards. The next game he goes for 30. If he could build that consistency up more, he is going to be unstoppable. And yet again, this is a big year for Trevor Lawrence. Some might say it's a make or break season. I'm not going to say that because obviously he's already paid. He was a #1 overall draft pick. They're going to be stuck to his hip for a while just because, you know, egos are going to get involved and all that. But I could see the Jaguars getting around 6 wins this year. And coming in last, I got the Colts. Yet again, the Colts are another weird team. I'm going to predict last in this division, but somehow they're going to randomly get 8 wins. But I'm sorry, when it comes to the quarterback, I just don't trust it. You know, Anthony Richardson, I loved Anthony Richardson as a prospect, but the Colts just f***ed him up completely. You knew he only had 17 starts in college. So you make him start week 1? You got people like Jordan Love who played all those years in college and sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years. Now, has Anthony Richardson been this major stud to where I could truly say that it's the Colts that completely ruined him and it wasn't his fault? No, of course not. Anthony Richardson was making some dumb decisions, but that's what happens when you're a rookie and you don't have as much experience. You know, I think this is going to be a big year for Jonathan Taylor. Truthfully, he's going to have to put this team on his back if they want to see success in 2025. I'm excited to watch Josh Downs, see how he can progress. Michael Pittman's always going to be that security blanket. He's kind of a mix of a tight end and receiver. Obviously, he's receiver, but like I kind of look at him in that regard to where if you had a rookie quarterback, Michael Pittman is a perfect receiver to have. But I honestly don't see much coming out of Indianapolis this year. Will they start tanking for Arch Manning? Run that back? Who knows? In the final division of this video, who will win the AFC North in 2025? Let's start from the bottom. The Cleveland Browns. The quarterback kind of scares me, but Kevin Stefanski is a dog. He's another Kevin O'Connell to where he could turn chicken shit into chicken salad. We saw this a couple years back. He made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. The whole quarterback drama in Cleveland is going to be very interesting this year. Do I think Shedeur Sanders will come in this year? I actually do. If you look at the Browns schedule, it gets pretty hard around the middle. And I think once they start losing confidence in Joe Flacco, they're going to throw Dylan Gabriel in. And if Dylan Gabriel doesn't do that well, Shedeur, you're in. This is where this division gets interesting. I feel like everybody has the same pick for the first pick and the last pick, but the middle two, I'm going to put the Steelers in third. I know we all look at it as the Steelers will never have a losing season. They won't have a losing season. This, and that. But Aaron Rodgers, man, he really throws me off. He was the same guy who held the Jets organization back 3 years, and I kind of see the same thing happening. Give it till week 3, till you start hearing stuff in the locker room, till you start seeing stuff on the sideline, and then you start seeing randomly, whoa, what's going on? Steelers sign Alan Lazard. Steelers sign Randall Cobb. Now listen, they could start out very well. I could totally see them starting out 2-0, 3-0, but I feel like the egos in that building are going to start getting themselves in trouble. My guess, I still think they're going to have a winning season, but I think they end around 9-8 or maybe even 8-9. Number 2, I'm going to go Cincinnati Bengals, man. And as you guys know, I'm a Ravens fan. I hate Cincinnati, but damn, dude, Joe Burrow is so good. Joe Burrow is so good. That offense is so interesting because it's almost like when you look at every position group, they are either phenomenal or they're really bad at that position group. Their offensive line, not looking too good. Chase Brown, very underrated. I could totally see him snapping this year. Joe Burrow, phenomenal at the quarterback position. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, phenomenal. After they paid Jamar and they paid T, they said, we're out of money. So they couldn't really make major moves on defense. And even with the players that they drafted, Shamar Stewart didn't want to sign until months after the draft. So that's more drama in the back, more drama in the locker room. And that is something that could with a team's psyche during the entire year. And coming in first, I got Baltimore. This is going to be a big year for Baltimore. Seeing the DeAndre Hopkins deal and seeing Jair Alexander getting added to this team, Chidobe Awuzie, I feel like they want to bring in that veteran presence for the playoffs. But truthfully, I don't see much coming out of those 3 guys. Jair, I believe, is a stud, but can he stay healthy is the question. Same thing with Chidobe Awuzie. But DeAndre Hopkins is an interesting one. I kind of feel like he's going to play the Odell role from a couple years ago. I could see DeAndre coming out with 550 yards, 3 touchdowns, but they're going to be effective. They're going to be more chain moving first downs. I think Baltimore is going to end maybe 12-5, and I got Cincinnati ending 10-7. And those are my predictions for the NFL 2025 season. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button and hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next upload.